Recently, about 8 to 10 people have thrown allegations at Chucklefish for not paying them despite their work and contracts. There were also implications that Ty would ask females some rather uncomfortable questions in front of others. In case you can't gather, this can seem like an imitation of the Vic Mignogna situation, where Vic Mignogna got inflated accusations all of a sudden when the Dragon Ball Super movie dropped stateside. I have a surprisingly similar stance to how I feel about that situation. The party that shows the signs of being the guilty side is guilty of utter teeth-gnashing nonsense to begin with, invalidating any point to care if the other side is guilty anyway, beyond handling due process. And yet, there are clear differences between the Vic Mignogna situation and the accusations at Chucklefish. With Vic Mignogna, there's the baseline problem of society being genocentric enough to believe false or unproven accusations without knowing the person at all, while Funimation has also been running around treating fans like trash. Chucklefish, by contrast, is simply dubious enough to support people who would pull a slander campaign out of their rears. I think those employees should definitely be paid what they're owed. I'm actually confused on the details, though. I'm just here to provide my own testimony against Chucklefish's conduct to at least punctuate that Chucklefish needs to be investigated. Of course, my testimony doesn't even directly start with Chucklefish itself. Of course not. No, it starts with their topic on the Advanced Wars subreddit, one that asked for playtesters for Wargroup. Basically, I had offered my assistance in, what else, the Game Balance department. But of course, the Advanced Wars subreddit's general membership shot at me with a slander campaign, even remarking how apparently Shattered Throne suffered just by having me involved. Never mind that they have been bashing on Shattered Throne from the start for being an attempt at an Advanced Wars spiritual successor, instead of trying to, maybe help with, maybe cleaning up the presentation. And it should be noted for the purposes of all this, and that Checkmark Games, the makers of Shattered Throne, had allowed me to playtest it when I outlined in email what was worth being cautious about the combo points mechanic. Maybe the problem is with you, Advanced Wars subreddit, because you sure as hell don't even care to try to be better people. Of course, those people were just relentless all the same, so I launched a reason you suck speech at them after very blatant harassment from them, and they got me banned from the subreddit for, quote-unquote, disrespecting other users, while the guy who would keep playing the Hocked Up game after having done things like mock lust-induced murder victims without the smallest shred of remorse gets off scot-free. You see the double standards the Advanced Wars subreddit shoved down my throat? They're so bad, you'd see why I would make a response video of doing a single segment perfect S-rank run of Rivals AC and Advanced Wars 1 to call them out on it. I'll link to that in the description, of course. But what Chucklefish thought was the side with the Advanced Wars subreddit membership, particularly one of the more blatant harassers. Needless to say, I'm increasingly less happy by the time I'm tearing at the design of Wargroup's Night Unit, because seriously, it's a red flag to involve tipper behavior like what happens with Mart in Super Smash Bros. Without at least added justification for as much. Speaking of the Night Unit deconstruction, I admit I get needlessly angry around the end of the post I made for that, but none of the points I made really change. Chucklefish's response? Why try to censor me for calling out problems with their sense of game balance? It should go on record that the Night Unit only really improved counterbalance by Spearman being so ridiculous, which is just a show of how the whole tipper mess I called out is so polarizing in the first place. You can't argue Fritz brilliance with the aesthetic when you could still try to come up with something better without giving up demand of an open field. There's even more critical flaws of Wargroup's balance as well, and I could have made sure they were intercepted. But no, Chucklefish just wants better PR at any cost. That's right. I'm calling out Chucklefish wanting to be arrogant from the start. Given that their claims and that their blatant copy and paste unit hierarchy was going to provide balance to the game, despite Advanced Wars Infantry's band notoriety. It would certainly explain why they wrote me off from the start. Best part about that? Take a good look at my auto-intern hack for Game Boy Wars 3. Notice how thorough I was with what I to involve with the auto intern feature, with the lack of toggle being purely because that would have involved graphics complications on the Game Boy Color. I managed a working sense of being thorough with standalone work. Compare that to Wargroup, which has less to worry about, and Chucklefish having more resources at their feet, including the convenience of Lua over C80. Why is it that Wargroup has the auto intern not trigger at all on insufficient gold to purchase a new unit? If they are worried about ROM space, use bit flags to determine what conditions are already set. If it works for a handheld game from some 3 handheld generations before the 3DS, it works for a current generation console game and won't even have to worry of losing efficiency to being thrown off by what's available to work with. There's no excuse to half effort the functionality of a basic feature that would have had a bug like this inevitably exposed in playtesting. There's also more gameplay flaws I could go into, but I want to quickly mention about S-ranks being based purely on speed without giving a damn about any other qualities, including troop care, because there were complaints about it, of course, including a topic by Monty Sigurdsson that would tear at it. I had posted about what happened on that topic before. I'll link to it in the description, of course. Summary is, the topic was eventually closed without any halfway valid attempt at a repost. There's only two possible conclusions. That either the false reporter, who had just been appointed moderator by Chucklefish in willful ignorance at best of the slander campaign for the Advanced Wars subreddit, locked the topic to follow her own agenda, or that Chucklefish themselves had locked the topic to shut up any further complaints about their glaring failure to provide good game design. Either scenario means that, again, Chucklefish is hellbent on staying within their ivory tower and following whatever god-awful reason they have to not listen to calling out of bad ideas that were weeded out 18 years ago. Oh, and by the way, some Chucklefish sycophants looked at the video and just claimed their valid counter-argument to my video, which has a freaking URL to type for an outsider to cross-examine if they want to see for themselves if they need evidence that badly, which is about goddamn aesthetic. Yeah, why am I reminded of the nastiness of Kick Pick? Oh, right, because they too supported a clearly corrupt company on blind faith, and they've shown their own nastiness to begin with. And considering how sickeningly easy it is to catch them in some blatant hypocrisy, I'm surprised that people believe their attempts to censor me for this long with thinly veiled excuses. Where does all this go with the people providing the allegations against Chucklefish? Well, the answer is simple. Despite being somebody with no chance of accessing any evidence to what is really going on with the allegations, there is more than enough reason why I deem the people's allegations credible enough for an investigation. In fact, I am hopeful there will be evidence proving Chucklefish guilty beyond doubt of what the likes of Region Zero are calling out. They didn't pay graphics designers, despite how I can tell you what sort of difficulty would inevitably go into graphics design, and I am no good with art. And yet, Chucklefish has enough money to retire. That's bad enough on its own, but of course, there's also persistent uncomfortable questions toward female employees about their sex life, as Rapunzel called out. There's details about that too, as I imply. And in fact, I guarantee the false reporter who I complained about twice in this video had went to getting promotions by sleeping with Chucklefish's top dog. Ty, for reference. Both of them are already immoral enough for that. I've suffered because of their corruption, and I don't doubt the people providing the allegations have as well. Chucklefish! You claim your doors are open to anybody wishing to provide concerns with you. Yet your censorship against me only display the truth, that you aren't going to do that, because you don't give a damn about the truth. All you care about is getting a few extra bucks and a little extra publicity for its own sake. And you decide to be rich enough about the whole show. Well, that'll shoot on the other foot, because you've mistreated people. Karma is finally catching up to you. I said it once, and I'll say it again. Chuckle, bitch! Chuckle your way out of this!